Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest installment of the Workflow Max Masterclasses. Today, we are very fortunate to have Julian representing the team over at SuiteFiles, who have been a long-time integration partner of Workflow Max, even predating the latest version and going into the old world of Workflow Max by zero. Julian, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure, Ryan. You are right. We've been like this with Workflow Max for so long, and obviously with the new iteration of Workflow Max, we want to continue that and just make it bigger and better.
Yeah, wonderful. Music to my ears. Now, just while we give everyone a moment to get settled in on the webinar, thanks, of course, for tuning in and joining us in this latest installment. A quick little bit of housekeeping. So today we are going to have the live Q&A available. So feel welcome to pop in some questions as we go. Of course, we'll do our best to address any of those in that moment, or if need be, we'll save some time at the end of the conversation for the more dedicated Q&A session. We are going to be recording today's webinar as well. It will be available via our Workflow Max YouTube channel. We'll post the link in the chat just so you have a reference and can, of course, jump in and follow us and keep up to date with all the latest and greatest. And as I said, this is the latest installment. There are actually many more masterclasses to come through the month of April, so stay tuned for more. And we'll pop in some details into the chat on that as well. But in saying that, Julian, I reckon we've got many already settled and raring and ready to go. So SuiteFiles, the world of SuiteFiles, we're looking forward to seeing it in action. Yeah, very keen to hand over to you and let's get things underway.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. Now, I know there's going to be some people on this call right now or watching this video who are already SuiteFiles users, and they're going to be more interested in the nuances of how Workflow Max and SuiteFiles can work together. But additionally, I know there are going to be some people here who may be Workflow Max users thinking, hey, I store my documents on Dropbox, OneDrive, SharePoint, wherever it is. I'd love a way for it to talk or for a document management system to really work well with Workflow Max. And that's what we do. And Ryan, it's always interesting when I'm out somewhere and I say, hey, I work for SuiteFiles, and they say, what do they do?
Mhm.
And I always think, what's my elevator pitch? And the easiest way to explain SuiteFiles is SuiteFiles is your Swiss Army knife for all things document management. Now, we're in a situation, Ryan, you're aware of this too, that most times when people have systems in place in regards to I store my documents here, I do my document signing with this, I save or track communication this way, and they go, it works. It's just the way it's always been. It ain't broke. That's just how you do it.
Mhm.
But I'm very aware that, people aren't really looking at the latest and greatest in what's available. Document Management Weekly wouldn't really be a magazine that sells all that well. So a lot of people really aren't aware of what can be done to make things more efficient. So as I mentioned, a lot of people have a spot where they save their documents. So another tool that they use to digitally sign documents, another tool for client collaboration, PDF editing, I can go on. And so people tend to have 3 or 4 different softwares to achieve all of this, whereas SuiteFiles does it all in one.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's really important, Julian, because if I may show some humility here and be very honest, when I was first introduced to SuiteFiles, I thought of it as a glorified SharePoint integration, right? So I am one of those candidates that thought it was just DMS type activity. But of course, as I've come to learn so much more about the SuiteFiles offering, it is absolutely. I think the Swiss Army knife is a great way to describe it, but it is so much more, and ultimately such a great way to drive a high degree of efficiency and automation in, like you said, everything beyond just document storage. So yeah, I think there's so much to unpack here, which is really exciting.
Yeah, look, we'll get into it, but it's always like at an expo, people stop by the booth and say, "Oh, are you like Dropbox or are you like DocuSign?" And we need to go, "Oh, come and sit down. let me show you what we have here. And so often I will do demonstrations with people. They come for one thing, Ryan,
Yep.
then they see everything and go, oh my God, I didn't even think this was possible. So
Yeah.
enough teasing and tantalizing.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Nice little segue. Here we
Yeah, I've
go.
done this once or twice before. So the first thing to note about SweetFiles is that it is cloud-based storage. Essentially, if you're not living in the cloud in this day and age, you need to be. If you've got things on a file server and it's due to, I guess the service is due to expire soon, you need to start to have a look at cloud-based systems like SweetFiles. But Ryan, one of the most important things about this, it doesn't matter if you're an engineering firm, a legal firm, accounting practice, anything like that, architects, your documents and your intellectual property is your business. It needs to be safe, it needs to be secure. So when you are working with a document management tool online, you always need to ask, where are my documents being stored? A lot of times your documents and data are being housed on their servers or some Amazon servers that they control. And so there's always that risk that if you decided to leave or something went wrong with that system, you still have to pull all of your documents out, hopefully in some meaningful way. With SweetFiles, if I just move my screen slightly, you can see I'm in Microsoft SharePoint. Now, for those that may or may not have heard of SharePoint before, SharePoint is Microsoft's cloud-based storage that you actually have as part of your business subscription. So I would assume that most people on this call are using Microsoft, and you have this, and you may not even realize it. But the important part about this, Ryan, is that it means that all of your documents and data is stored on your account, your system, your login, so that if the day ever came where you decided that SweetFiles was no longer for you and you canceled your subscription, I'd have a broken heart. But the veil of SweetFiles would lift and all of your documents and data is still there for you in the same folder structure that you had it in SweetFiles. So I never like to start with the end in mind, Ryan, but it's just a peace of mind thing, and data sovereignty is so important.
Absolutely. And I think it's very comforting to know that there is a plan B if it does come to it, of course.
Of course,
Yep.
if with big asterisks there, absolutely. So we are a document management system, which is just like your Windows Explorer. You've got folders and structures just like this that you can come into. You can have subfolders. So if I come into this folder here, I can have jobs and have all of subfolders, files in there. Because we are working in the Microsoft ecosystem, we can even edit and change documents, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets right here, which is pretty cool. Now, what I will touch on to begin with, because it will start our little journey through SweetFiles, is the way that we do interact with Workflow Max. So I would assume a lot of people who'd have Workflow Max, they would have their document storage sitting separately. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yeah, so the documents, of course, are going to be aligned to the actual job or
Yep.
client, or even going into a much more granular account, leads through to job as well.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of different positions for it, but essentially centralized by the WorkflowMax DMS.
Perfect. So it sits there, and then usually they'll, from my understanding, I've spoken to many people, if they wanted to store these elsewhere, they're manually picking them up, putting them and storing them elsewhere.
Correct.
And that's when it comes to the digital document side of thing, the M word, manual. We want to remove that from our vocabulary because when we're doing things manually, it's more work. And there's the chance of human error. Now, I know everyone on this call is perfect. No one makes errors, but I'm sure people that we work with, they'll misfile things. They'll think, I need to move that, and they forget to. And this causes problems later down the line where we can't find things. And that's a real problem. So with SweetFiles, we want to automate as much as we can. So if I jump in to Workflow Max, now I'll put my hand up here and say, I'm not an expert in Workflow Max. I know enough just to show off SweetFiles. So I'm not going to sit here and try and make fantastic tools and such. But what I wanted to show you is that, for example, if I create a client here and I'll go create a new client and I'll just put in the main things here. I'll call this the Workflow Max and Zero webinar. Well, that's a great business name. Someone go register that. It's fantastic. Put all
Mhm.
the information in here. I won't put it in just because we're just for brevity's sake. And what would happen is as soon as I save that, in a few moments, this will automatically create this client over in SweetFiles. So you can actually see here, the documents here are currently synced with SweetFiles. I can click this folder and it will take me straight over into SweetFiles where this folder is automatically created. So you can see it's there. Now it's a blank folder. Granted, that's what we can do. But what I could also do is that if I wanted to create them in SweetFiles first, I can actually create folder structure templates. But I'll show you how that works with a job. But first things first, what I can show you is that if I'm in Workflow Max now and I upload a new document, whether let's say the client uploaded it or maybe I did it, whichever one it is, and I go council permit, this one. I upload this. It's straight into the folder. Once this wants to show us here.
Mhm.
So it's right here, but if I go back to SweetFiles and refresh this folder, straight in there.
There it is.
Automatically. So we're not manually having to move things, but it also goes the other way, Ryan. So let's say that I had, where we go? Let's grab another document here and go into from my old documents into the business documents. And let's say I even want to just drag and drop a different one. Where have we? I've got the council permit 2.3, but now let's move to the 5.3. I put this into SweetFiles from this end. And so what happens here is that you can see it here, but if we go back over to Workflow Max, it's in there as well. So what we have there is a single source of truth going back and forward. So regardless of whether you're in Workflow Max or SweetFiles and adding files, they're accessible from both spots there, which makes life very, very easy and very, very convenient because we're removing that manual step of moving things. Now, obviously, Workflow Max is all about creating jobs and such. The beauty here is that we can actually create a job folder automatically as well. So, for example, if I come into here and we'll just do it here. Once again, not an expert. I'll do it from here. So that's the client. We'll call this one let's just call this one the webinar job. Oops, capital letter there, job. I can put in all the particulars about this, and you can, and you will, but for brevity's sake, once I create that, what this actually does now is that if I go back to SweetFiles, immediately I hit refresh in this folder. Well, wait on a moment, it will come through. Don't you worry about that. Once again, we were just talking about this, folks, before we came on, that software, sometimes we move too fast for software, and we need to just slow down for it. So we can see the link there.
Yeah.
So if we refresh that again, never in doubt. See, now the job folder is created and there's a job in there.
Hmm.
So once again, all of the documents that are pertaining to this job can come into here. But where SweetFiles comes into its real element is your ability to use folder structure templates. Now, we want everyone to be able to use the folder structures that they want. We do not say you must create it in this way, shape, or other. So let's say that I had this here, and this is where I'd put email communications, maybe some my own personal notes, but I want to put all the documents pertaining to this job. Instead of just creating one folder that says documents, then going into there, creating another folder that might say drawings, contracts, agreements, what I can do is come into SweetFiles, click create a folder, and I'm going to call this documents. Let's just simply call this documents. And what I can do is I can choose a folder template to use. If I just hit create now, it's an empty folder. But let's say I've got this as an engineer job folder. I hit create. So have a look at that now. I'm over here in the job. I go to my documents and I have all of these subfolders that I would normally create. So not only, Ryan, does that save a practice, a firm, a company time, but what it also creates is consistency and predictability. So it doesn't matter who is creating these folders, they're going to
Got
end up the
care
same
of, isn't
every
it?
single time.
Yeah. And that's already just one of those features that goes beyond just figuratively the DMS synchronization. So
Mhm.
yeah, we're already starting to see where we can drive that extra efficiency and yeah, like you said, structure and governance. So
Absolutely. And so if we
and
just come back and you can see that once again, I can now see all of these subfolders in Workflow Max. It's beautiful the way that it works. And this will add a lot of structure to people. And Ryan, there's probably people on this call right now that they've been doing things the way that they've always done it because that's just how maybe old systems that they use guided them and said, well, that's how you must do it. Or the path of least resistance, we just put everything all into the one folder because it's easier to do it that way.
correct.
Now when we give people these tools, which it's just as quick to create a full folder structure template like that than it is to manually create one folder,
Mm.
it really opens the door for people to stop and consider, okay, well, maybe this is a way that we can do it a lot better, and it's actually no harder to do at all.
No, exactly. In fact, certainly not in no negative connotation, but I mean, some customers I've spoken with in the past, have one of the administration assistants who would pick up on that parent folder, and then they'd go through the process of individually creating each one, then populating each one with pro forma templates and policy docs and schematics, etc. I know I'm going to be stepping on your toes a little bit with what comes next, but yeah, I can see where this drives a great deal of efficiency.
Of course, absolutely. Now, the other tool that people are loving from Workflow Max is the use of document templates. Now, no doubt people will have templates in the way of agreements, cover letters, welcome letters. It could be annual statements, accounts, whatever it is like that. And they're sitting there. And tell me if this is what you hear about as well, Ryan. They'll have Microsoft Word documents sitting there. It's time to create that letter. We
Mhm.
go get it, we copy, paste, rename it, and then we start typing all the changes in that document, praying to God that we don't miss a merge field, and then we send it to the client. Is that sort of what you're hearing a lot from people?
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Yes,
And so, hey,
absolutely.
we've all done that to a degree. And so, once again, this is where we want to challenge people in regards to the way that they're doing things now. So, if you do have all of those document templates sitting in a folder somewhere on your computer, when you move to Suite Files, you're going to put them all in. And just so people know, Ryan, when you come on board with Suite Files, we actually will help you to configure everything. We'll help you to move your data in, train you up, so you're not trying to do this all yourself. So don't sort of think, oh, this looks like it's too much.
Mm.
What we have here is all of our templates, and we can even categorize them. So I might have one here. This is let's pretend my company is Smart Engineering. And this is a Workflow Max demo letter. Who would have thought? But when you come in, you can see it is just a simple Word document with merge fields. And all of these merge fields actually pull through from Workflow Max. So, I'm just got a bit of Latin going on here. Don't worry about that. It's more about the merge fields, but also we need to get this document signed, which we'll come to in a moment. But so instead of now having to get this copy, edit it, save it like that, what we actually do, if we go back to, we'll go back to the A1 Enterprises folder. Let's say I had a job here. This is a job. So A1 Enterprises is one that I have set up in XPM already. So as we joked about before we jumped online, that takes time. Here's one we've prepared earlier. This is one of the jobs that they had. Hey, look, they've got same folders. But let's say I wanted to create that agreement in this folder. All I need to do is click create a file from template. I have all of my categories here. Here it is. Now what I want to do is say that this is going to be the Smart Engine. No, let's call this one the webinar demo agreement. We'll just call it that for today. And here I would now be able to search. All right, I want to sync this with A1 Enterprises. So this will come through. It quickly does a quick refresh of Workflow Max to make sure that everything is there. One moment. Once again, software is like people always say, never work with kids and animals. on on live TV. Software's kind of the same. But what it does now is that instead of just dumping everything into the document and saying, here you go, Julian, trust me, it's perfect. Just it's all good. You don't need to check it. What we can do is click enter field values and it gives you this screen. It shows you, here's all of the merge fields that come through. So here, as much as that was a smart engineering one, my whole system here, my business is called Abacus Accounting. So normally that's because I do accounting as well. This would say smart engineering, all the smart engineering stuff, and then all of the A1 Enterprises things.
Mm.
Now, for some reason, I didn't put the country in for A1 Enterprises in Workflow Max. Oh, but clearly I can see that it's missing. But if it was in the document, maybe I missed it. So what I can do now is just fix it like that. I can edit anything. But this is where I can also put other merge fields in that maybe don't exist in Workflow Max. It could be a financial figure. It could be a certain service level agreement. And so you can just go down this list, write the information in, and it will go to the exact spot in the document. Maybe there is the business name in 7 spots in the document. You write it here once, it goes to all 7. But once we hit create, that document is created. Simple Word document, all finished, all modified, ready for you to send out for signing. Now, if you needed to edit it, no problems. I can actually edit this right here in the browser. And I'm going to start to sound like a broken record, but we're doing everything all in the one window here, Ryan. So if I needed to change this document, I can do that instead of having multiple windows open.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, now if I go back to clients and we go to A1 Enterprises, if we go into the documents, we'll be able to see this agreement sitting there. Super, super simple. Come through agreements. There it is. Really cool. Now, if you do have questions as we're going along, please reach out. But now we have this document that we need to get signed. Brownie points that we've created it automatically, which is awesome. But at this point, what are the common signing tools that you're hearing people are using at the moment, Ryan?
Oh, I mean, just to name a few, probably DocuSign, Sign Now. They're the ones that come off the top of my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, the like Adobe Sign, all of these different things.
There's plenty of them out there.
There's plenty. They're all good, but SweetFiles is better. The reason I say that is that instead of now having to take this document, go convert it into a PDF, upload it to a third-party signing system, send it out, then frequently go back, manually send reminders, log in, check the status of everything. It's signed, great. I've got to get that email or log in, download it and put it back into the folder. A lot of manual work there and a lot of systems. Remember, we want to get everything happening all on the one. And this is where SweetFiles helps. So let's jump back into SweetFiles. And if we go into this one, so here we are, we've got this one button right at the top of the screen, request signature. With one click, this will convert it to a PDF. So if I jump out now, you can see that we have a PDF version. And here, I can just click on document signing. Now we've got a new version coming. I won't talk about that at the moment. I'll just do the old experience because I want to show it in full functionality. Now I'm going to send it to my friend Terry, just because that's the inbox that I have here. So what I would do, I would put his information in like this. I can add multiple signees if there's more people involved in this signing system. I can add sequential signing. So maybe one person signs it before the next person does. We can even send it to, let's say, a husband and wife on the same email address, if that ever comes up, because normally that's a big issue for getting things compliantly signed. So we can do that.
Yeah.
But let's keep today's
that one, Julian. It does pop up though, doesn't it?
It does. And the way that we do that, just so people are wondering, we can turn on two-factor authentication. So that what would happen is, let's say we had Terry Jones and Sarah Jones. We can send it on the same email address, but when someone opens that, both of them will get a code sent via SMS, and whichever code gets used, it works out who that is. Now, if Terry and Sarah have the one email address and the one mobile phone, I don't know how they operate in life, but we can't help with that situation. But look, let's keep this simple. It's just Terry and myself today. So we can come in here, come into the document and go, look, I'll put my signature on here. It's fully customizable, by the way. Then I go down and I go. And we're not really reinventing the wheel with this part. If you've used something like Adobe Sign or DocuSign, we're not going to change too much with that. That's all I need on this document, but I do have the ability to put initials, text boxes, check boxes as well. So it's all there. And then here we would write the email to the client to say, this is why we're getting this out to you. But no doubt, people are going to be sending out the same things over and over. So you can save those as templated messages, right? So select save template. I'm going to go with authority to act on behalf. Let's just use that as an example, but it could be anything. Please sign your engagement letter, the agreement, contract proposal. You put it in your words. No problems at all. So just like that, once again, remember this demo account I'm using is Abacus Accounting. I'm an accounting firm, but I did want to show you how this works for everything else as well. So don't get confused where it said Smart Engineering and Abacus Accounting. From here, I can add an expiry date, automatic email reminders so you don't have to follow up with them. And if there's someone else on your team or somewhere else who needs a copy of these documents once they're signed, put their email address in too. But once you hit send, that's it. There's no more you need to do. SweetFiles will manage this for you, and you'll even be able to keep track of everything in the document signing dashboard. So from here, you have to do nothing else. How does that compare to what you've seen previously, Ryan?
Oh, look, it's very cool, Julian. I mean, like you said, the sticking point for me was in my past life, it was different products for different functions, and just having the ability to bring it all together in my mind speaks of, well, efficiency and a whole lot of cost saving as well when it comes to those different apps that we tend to just go and whip off the shelf and wrap in as part of the tech stack data for the day-to-day.
Exactly. And that's what I was talking about previously, Ryan, is that people will come to SweetFiles for one specific thing. And then they see it does everything else and say, hold up, this can actually replace 3 of our products in one.
Yeah.
Which is great. And that removes what we call friction fatigue. It's just the arduous, laborious grind that is uploading, downloading, moving from one system to another. We fix all of that. But I digress. Let's have a look at what it looks like for your clients, because at the end of the day, while it's easy and enjoyable for you, it's got to be easy for your clients, because if it's not easy for them, it's not easy for you, which is obviously what Workflow Max is helping you to do as well. So we come into the email, and the first thing you'll notice is that it will be fully branded. Your name, your logo, absolutely everything that you need to know. So everything is good to go. They're confident it's from you. They click review document. One of the nice things is you'll actually get an email notification that they've opened and viewed the document. So you'll know that they've seen it. So if they ever say, oh, I haven't seen that, you haven't sent me that before, you'll know. So he comes into the fully branded portal here. Now, remember, it's important that we make it easy for them. So they don't need to create an account to log in or anything like that. They can come straight in. If security is important to you, you can put that 2-factor authentication on. But this is how easy it is for the client. Ryan, tell me how we make this any easier. 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks, done.
Looks pretty straightforward. Good.
If I can turn that into 1 click, I would, but that's it. Now, as a default, Terry's signature would look like mine as a font signature, but he can do whatever he likes here. He can upload an image of his signature, or he can draw a signature. But the great thing here is that he's put his signature in once, and it's going to be there for every time he comes back.
Yeah, nice.
But once he hits finish, yes, you'll get notified that it's been done. Terry will get a copy sent to his inbox as well. But what will happen is that normally, instead of you having to go and pick up a copy of that via email because the signing system sent you a copy, or you've got to log in to download it, once again, I might be going too fast here, but you never know. Oh, have a look at that. The signed copy is automatically saved straight back into the system.
Very good.
You don't have to do anything. And once again, if we come across and we're going to come back into that folder, we're seeing everything in Workflow Max as well. So you've created a document from template, tweaked it, edited it. You can even get it approved internally before it goes out, sent it out for signing, checked the status of it, and seen it back in the folder. minimal work from you, and all in the one window. That's really what we're working with here in SweetFiles, is that it's going to make you working with clients, getting signatures, tracking everything so much easier. And so that's something we're very proud of, and that's why people using Workflow Max love it.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's it. Now, have there been any questions coming through, or everyone's pretty much just sitting and watching?
No, it seems like a bit quiet on the Q&A front, which is probably a very good sign, Julian. It's been very well delivered there and very concise. A question that comes to mind now, of course, we're leveraging Microsoft SharePoint as the underlying technology here. So just to give everyone listening in the extra level of confidence, data sovereignty, privacy, security. Of course, it obviously ticks all the boxes, but anything that you want to elaborate on there?
Yeah, well, once again, when you're using SweetFiles, you're logging in with your 365 credentials. So it's not like it's a new thing that you need to remember or add to the list of things.
Yep.
But what this also does, Ryan, and it may also help a lot of Workflow Max users in itself, because obviously, no doubt there are a lot of people who are using Workflow Max and they'll ask, do you integrate with XYZ? Do you integrate with 123? And as much as we want to integrate with everything directly, we can.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we always work at that and grow on that. But this is the great thing about using SharePoint as the basis for everything, is that a lot of things integrate with SharePoint.
Mm.
So a lot of people will use SharePoint for its document storage. And so that while there may be some tools that don't directly integrate with Workflow Max or SweetFiles, if they integrate with SharePoint, they kind of work together, because they're all going to be sourcing and pooling the documents into one spot. So that's another real big benefit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have actually had a question come through.
Sure.
Would you mind, Julian, just helping us understand what type of documents are accepted in SweetFiles? And by extension, we obviously presume Word, Excel, PowerPoint. What about Visio and others for that matter?
Gotcha. Good question. So natively, every single Microsoft file type works and is editable in SweetFiles. You'd be worried if they weren't. But the short answer to that is everything can be stored within Sweet, any type of file. So whether it's engineers with CAD files and so on, they can be stored. It's another question of being able to open them and edit them. Obviously, that's not something that can happen within SweetFiles. But if you want to use one of these documents and open them up in the native software, SweetFiles also has a OneDrive sync, so that if you want to be able to access all of these files on your Windows Explorer to be able to open them with other programs, you can do that. So the short answer is everything can be stored in SweetFiles, but it is the native things such as Microsoft documents and PDFs are the things that are openable and editable within SweetFiles. Everything else you would need to use the other software to do it. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think that does. I was actually going to ask you about the CAD files, because I know we've got plenty of customers who do work in that arena. So
Yep.
good to know. So like you said, it's just a matter of storage is one thing, but then accessing is just another thought that needs to be considered in the operating environment.
Exactly. I mean, I'd love to be able to open up and work on CAD files within SweetFiles, but if I ask my developers to do that, I'd probably see about 4 or 5 grey hairs just.
I was going to say they'd probably have a bit of a fit, but yeah.
They would. We never say never, but yeah, right now that's where it's at.
Understood. Excellent. Yeah, so again, we've got the Q&A open. So if there are any other questions, please feel welcome to shoot them through. I guess, Julian, just in the case that we're still waiting for a couple of questions to come through, my question is, so how do we get started with SweetFiles? What does an onboarding activity look like? How do we get things going?
Yeah, of course. So that's a good question. So there's still a few things I'd like to show people through SweetFiles. No, but hey, look, I want to talk about that still. But, getting started with SweetFiles, at the end of this call, I'll put up on the screen here a QR code, which you can book in with me directly. I always like to have those conversations with people, as though as much as I can't see you on that end, you know me, you've sort of seen a little bit about what Sweet Files is doing, and we continue that conversation a little bit more personalized. It's not a sales call. I'm not there to pressure close anyone like that. It's an exploration. It's really about, hey, let's go a little bit deeper on your business. What do you actually need? What are your frustrations right now? And let's see if Sweet Files can fix that. But I'll get to that in a moment. But the other two key things to look at here, Ryan, is the way that we can also collaborate with clients and share documents and files. So I know that with Workflow Max, you can do that when it's pertaining to a specific job. We can get things going into the jobs and into documents and so on. But if you have more of an ongoing relationship with a client where maybe you want them to have access to copies of documents and such on an ongoing basis, Sweet Files can help with that as well. So I'll jump back into Sweet Files and I'm going to change lanes here, and I need to go into my accounting mode. It's all the same, whether you're an engineer, an architect, it's going to work the same way. But the client that I have here is in Abacus Accounting, and that client is 007 Plumbing. And I want to explain, because I've got this one set up and it makes a bit more sense. So my client here, 007 Plumbing, I've got all of their folders. These are probably going to be foreign folders to a lot of people because all engineers want BASDocs folders. That's correct. There's a couple of folders here in my system which are blue. Now, they're just regular folders. If I go into them, just nice and regular. But the reason that they're blue is because this is signifying that I'm actually currently sharing these folders with the client through the client portal. So what that looks like, if I jump over into my Sweet Files Connect, here I am logged in as Terry. He's logged into the client portal, which maybe you've got to log in on your website, and we can help you with that. And he comes into the portal and it's going to be fully branded, your logo, your everything. So it's super professional. And here is everything that I've given him access to. Now, what you'll see is that we've got payslips, or put your payslips here, put your rental property documents here. Over here, it's just payslips and rental properties. That's because we can change the name to make it more user-friendly for the clients as well. So let's say they come into here. That's just like what we had at our end. They can download copies of things, but they can also upload things directly into these folders. So let's say he was lazy. He got the December payslips, uploads it. We come into this end here, straight into that folder. We didn't have to do anything. Nothing went through email. It's really powerful. Now, I won't drill down in this because I am mindful that we want to keep this short, sharp, and focused, but you can even do specific file requests where you can request documents from clients and they can end up in folders that you haven't even given them access to. But one of the nice cherry on top here, Ryan, is that no doubt people will have people ask them, can you please send me a copy of this agreement or this letter to act on behalf and so on. And people are fielding those, attaching documents, sending it all the time, wasting your time, but also we're sending very sensitive documents through email. The beauty of this portal is that you have now a tool, which is Sweet Files, which is so rare in that you've got your document storage, your document signing, and your client portal, which would be 3 different softwares, but now in one. If we go back into this client portal, there's a signed documents tab. And every single document that you've ever signed will automatically appear here. You don't have to put it here for the client. It will automatically appear here for them to download at any time. And so this is giving your clients a very, very professional experience and making things hands off for you as well.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah. Well, how handy. I'm even thinking with some of the customers we work with, change requests, for example, or variations that do step into the picture. That'd be a great way to just have that efficiency and automation of collection and storage as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm very mindful of time. I'm not going to go into the other features, but I will tease people just to say that there is a built-in PDF editor. We can save automatically email conversations through Outlook. There's even email templates that you can send via Outlook that uses the templates like the Word documents, which will automatically merge things in there. If you'd love to look at those, I'd love to show you through it, but I think that that's probably better done on a more one-on-one demonstration.
Sure.
I'll put this on the screen while we talk about, I need to move that up so we get the whole QR code. There we go. So please, hopefully everyone knows how to use QR codes. That's a direct booking for me. If you want to go to the website, you can, which is sweetfiles.com, but that'll be a round robin. So you might get to talk to me, you might get to talk with someone else. They're all great people. No one's as cool as me, but they're all great, great colleagues of mine that you will chat with. But the onboarding to SweetFiles, this is something which I know a lot of people are wary of because they've had bad experiences moving from one system to another. Haven't heard any bad things about Workflow Max, Ryan, so it's okay.
Good.
But
Pleased to hear it.
yeah, that's it. Is that more so? A lot of people look at things and go, that looks nice, but the effort to move, oh no, it's too much. I don't want to do that. It's just easy to stay here.
Hmm.
With SweetFiles, that's not the case because we have a dedicated team here that will move your data from where it is into SweetFiles, shape it to however you need it. Maybe you wanted to do a spring clean and change the structure of things. We have scripts and tools that can do that. Because as you can imagine, everyone coming to SweetFiles, Ryan, is coming from somewhere else. And so we want to make that very easy for them. So we'll migrate things overnight or over the weekend, whichever works best. And then from there, we'll have a team that will train you and your team up. Now, SweetFiles is pretty easy to use. You've seen that. It's intuitive. It just works the way that you think it should. But we are absolutely adamant that we want to make sure that you are confident in using 100% of the system, not struggling along knowing 40% of it. We want you to get full value and to love what it is. So that's something that we can definitely explore if it's a good fit. But first things first, I just want to answer questions for people, make sure it's a good fit for them. And we can do that by booking in and having a chat together.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's all I've got, unless everyone's got any other questions. I just wanted to show that, hey, we work phenomenally with Workflow Max because we love partnering. It's a very symbiotic relationship there. Plus, we can give you all these tools that you may not have, or if you do have them, you're probably doing them over multiple software. So we bring it all in to make your life easier.
Yeah, thanks very much, Julian. Thanks for taking us through that. And just recapping on some of the earlier sentiment there. Hopefully, everyone listening in today has been able to see it goes well beyond figuratively just a DMS synchronization with Workflow Max. There's so much more that can be all empowering for a business in the efficiency gains and the structuring and the better data quality and governance in the process as well. So yeah, I think it's a very worthwhile opportunity to connect with Julian and team and see what it can do for your business, how it can drive that extra ROI. And yeah, I think there aren't any more questions in the Q&A. We might just give it 30 seconds in case there's any last little quick ones that pop up. But Julian, otherwise, it's been a great opportunity to see SweetFiles in action.
My absolute pleasure.
Very good. All right. Doesn't appear as though we've got any other questions coming through, so we might start wrapping it up. Of course, this has been recorded. It will be available via our Workflow Max YouTube channel. And as you can see on the screen, QR code to get in contact with Julian and the team at SweetFiles. We might leave it there, but thank you, Julian, once again.
Absolute pleasure.
Okay, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, this is one of the many in the masterclass series for March, April, and stay tuned for more to come. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Take care.